Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, host Imperial Dane, Master Propaganda Hero, Psych Defender of the Fatherland. We're off here to an exciting 1 vs 1 on Minsk Pocket. Between the south, we got here Torano, fighting for the Soviet Union, socialism. The 20th Guards Mercenarized Rifle Division taking on the fascists under the commander Fredbrik, fighting here for the Wehrmacht, Germany. Here with the 3rd Panzer Division with elite troops, Lightning War, and Storm Doctrine with infantry. Mine and Panzerfaust bulletins there versus Lend-Lease, Scout Motor and Cert Reserve Arm with triple infantry for Torano. Double country start there for Torano. Fredbrik with a Grenadier MG42 start there. And Torano they're spreading out secure east and centre here for the motherland. So we got country moving ahead here, clutching their most in their guns as they not very cautiously advance through the open terrain here, open-ish. Meanwhile, we can see here that Fredbrik's going in somewhat aggressively as well. He's also heading sort of eastwards, but the thing is to keep in mind his cut-off points actually both sort of reasonably well away. They are sort of both sides there, but heading forward to centre as well there. Pioneers moving up here, Grenadiers, MD42 moving down the centre. Also ready for the next big engagement with the other chaps. You got a 3rd conscript there for Torano. Of course, he has the Russians. Can if he just goes to conscript out a lot of troops faster, and of course just gain more map that way a bit faster. We'll of course have to see how Torano handles this. Eastern victory point secured here. Noting he could have laid down sandbags to make it easy for him to hold the fuel point in case Fredbrik pushes forward. And on Minsk Pocket, there tends to be sort of a lot of direct pushes for the fuel points, so generally it's not a half bad idea to try and prepare ahead of time. Similarly, Fredbrik could do the same here. Of course, his Pioneers all the way over here. Laying down sandbags there in anticipation from attacks for here. Interesting. So 2nd MD42 there for Fredbrik. No double Grenadiers first. Double MD42s into Grenadiers here. Certainly a bit of a slightly unusual opening. Got Constellation Grenadiers M42s. Quickly spotted and pulls back here behind the trees, ensuring that the M42 can't fire. In this case, the Grenadiers up close versus the conscripts, and that means the conscripts here will win the engagement due to having a high rate of fire. And there you go, Grenadiers low on health. And there you go, the M42 moves in. Now that's a tactical mistake there by Fredbrik. My guess is he made an attack move or specific attack order, and the M42 was just moving along and he wasn't paying attention. That can happen. However, he needs to retreat the M42. So that's a 1 engagement there by Torano here in the early moments of the game versus Fredbrik and the 3rd Panzer Division there, following up with another Grenadier squad. Pioneers, we got in these, we got Pioneers, Engineers grabbing territory there. Got to push here, the other M42 ready to help defend the fuel point for the fatherland. And there you go, he's sticking sandbags around his opponent's fuel point, but not his own. In this case, the M42 quickly opens up and the conscripts suppress them as it fires into their backs. It hurts, Dimitri, of course it hurts. Their bullets, get down. In these, Pioneers was Engineers, and in this case, the Pioneers were apparently a bit too slow to get closing in there, so looks like they'll be the ones losing. Had they been a bit faster, perhaps there might have been a better chance. In this case, the Engineers saw through for Stalin. Pawn stabbing secured. No additional sandbags here from Torano. This is slightly falls back. We got a 4th conscript squad out here. So 4 conscripts versus 2 Grenadiers and 2 MD42s there for Fredbrik. Will he be taking up now? No, he will not. Might be going for a slightly heavier tier 1 then. Perhaps a 3rd Grenadier squad. Or maybe a mortar. Maybe not. We can see that Torano is not taking so much focus on the center. He's actually sort of heading up the sides of the map there. So I think that's actually a pretty good approach there. That way I'm possibly avoiding it. It does leave his fuel point there unguarded, but at the same time, set up for deeper flanks against Fredbrik, because if he controls the eastern sides, there again, there's going to be a lot of blind spots where we could essentially attack Fredbrik. Flank plus, of course, can control the cut-off points, meaning it won't matter if he controls the fuel if it doesn't control the cut-off points. So that's also a pretty good move there by Torano. Get M4 trimming up here aggressively here for Fredbrik, but another M42 following up the conscripts passing by. We also got a mortar up here for Torano as well. Definitely be a good move there against the Wehrmacht. I mean, you go for a lot of conscripts. Your opponent is Wehrmacht, which means they're likely to go for machine guns. Having Molotovs is a really good choice because it's a very good thing to quickly just push off a machine gun if you flank it. Plus, it can help just deny the Wehrmacht Grenadiers, any use of cover. The Grenadiers in a bit of a hard time with the Engineers and the conscript. The west centre here pushed back with the double M42s. Possibly Torano did not expect such an aggressive double machine gun push there, but at the same time, you can't make any use of the resources because comparatively, again, nothing's connected. Whereas we are seeing a sort of small connected set of territory there for Torano. So it's actually now getting more resources than Fredbrik. So overall, well played there by Torano in the early game, certainly highlighting again why just some aggressive conscript play can be quite nasty, because in part the conscript are just mobile. And that's probably one thing that makes the conscript sort of really nasty in the hands of an experienced Soviet player. Comes with a bit of assault, setting up in the sniper nest. Not entirely sure that's the brightest idea by the conscripts. I do wonder where the rest of the unit went, since there's like 3 men firing from there and there's like 2 others at that against the floor. Stop stepping on me! Shut up! I have to shoot the fascists. It doesn't get easy if you keep squirming about. Just stand still. But it's my kidney! You have 2. You don't need them all. Anyways, we've got constant push through the south. MD42 Canadians standing about, and there you go. A full encirclement here of Fredbrik. Really nicely through there, but Torano did lose parts of the encirclement, but still really nicely done there. Really nicely done there. Because they're taking a bit of damage as they retreat. Special Rifle Command up there for Torano and the 20th Guards Motorized Rifle Division. Like to make a nice company going up there for Fredbrik. Fuel reconnected at fuel points. Which means again he's going to be able to get a hit there of Torano, but again he's still going to be somewhat behind due to this is just that sort of, you know, not having it connected in the first bloody place, and soon Torano will be able to connect the western side, so I mean he's going to get certainly a more bigger burst than Fredbrik, in part because, well, he's managed to cut it off again, the sneaky bastard. MD42 dealing with the country up close. We've got a scout on the way there for Fredbrik. They're hanging up behind some old wooden carts. Almost got the fuel point back, and thusly everything connected again. It's going to need some vehicles to keep mobility, I think, here going versus Torano, because again the way Torano is playing, if Fredbrik just plays too statically, it's just going to get completely, you know, bled dry and just, you know, hammered by tanks. So what Torano or Fredbrik needs to do is sort of bring up something to allow us more flexibly to react to what Torano is doing. In that regard, a bunch of 2-2s, even the Halftrack could do a lot there for Fredbrik. The Halftrack would allow him to just ferry troops about wherever they needed, that way sort of countering Torano's tactics much more efficiently. But it's a very sort of efficient type of tactics there by Torano. Rarely seen, partly because again just people sort of just gotten, you know, so popular, but it certainly highlights what a good, competent player can do just with conscript. In this case, adding a scout with flamethrowers, which will also help quite a bit there. Wipes the MD42 in this case, still makes a bit of a mistake. Perhaps gets a bit too close to the grenades with Panzerfaust, and there you go. Fritz is on it, and almost got the scout MD42 close to finishing off the grenadiers. There you go, securing the MD42 for the fatherland. Pressing up there to secure another cut-off point to ensure he isn't so easily wrapped there by Torano. Good move, and we do get a half-track there for Fredbrik, the 251 Mittlerer Schützenpanzerwagen. Comes to them moving about here for Torano. Another scout, because he's actually investing in another scout here versus Fredbrik. He just wants to further keep things rapid and aggressive. Fredbrik following up with some more hardened panzer grenadiers to support these elements there as well. That I think is also a pretty good choice here. Pretty good choice in the cut-off points. As you can see, Fredbrik seems to be learning a bit of Torano's tactics, you know, hitting some of those vital 4 cut-off points across Minsk pocket. That way you're trying to ensure that Torano doesn't get too far ahead of him either. So tactics and counter-tactics adopting from the enemy there as well. We'll have to see then if Torano decides to adopt a half-track. He could even call one in theory. But we got the half-track out there, rolling through the woods. And we up there can also, of course, just help him reinforce the front. Now, and also means he doesn't have to retreat as much. We'll certainly also give him some extra strength there versus Torano. He's here going for the heavy machine gun, the Soviet 50 caliber, the Dishka. Just moving up there. No sign of a doctrine there though from Fredbrik. Again, Torano's gone here for Lend-Lease, meaning of course there's half-track potential, but he's likely not going to go for it. M4C Shermans, he's a lot more likely to go for that. And also Allied supply drops, also very likely to go for that. There you go, pops the MD42 inside the half-track, runs into a large country 4C, has no anti-tank grenades. That's a bit of luck there for Fredbrik's half-track, otherwise they could have gone down pretty quickly. But there you go, catching the country out in the open. Pushing them out there with a half-track to keep them in front of them. MD42, very sharp move there by Fredbrik. Very sharp move, and there you go, pins them down. Excellent work there. Excellent usage there of the half-track. Good micromanagement there. Comes there under fire from the MD42. And there you go, push back as well. So right here, the half-track certainly proved, I think, critical there for Fredbrik versus Torano's flank. Had he not had that half-track here, things could have gotten a bit more ugly there, possibly. There you go, another squad moving in there behind the MD42, but again, can reinforce the front line. The half-track can support. Panzers are doing a lot of damage. Well, there we go. Engineers wiped here. The half-track very quickly proving itself, I think, critical here to Fredbrik's hold over the centre, and also I'm just, you know, just more easy to just take the rest of it. There's now again Torano sort of getting more caught up in the centre fighting here in this kind of engagement where he can't easily win thanks to the half-track. So there you go, constantly being pushed back here, but the Panzer gun is again backed by the 251 half-track here. Going to try and rush here behind the machine gun. That's going to be a bit more risky. Oh, careful, Fredbrik. Schützenpanzerwagen, not Panzerwagen. There's a bit of a difference there. Nothing further there for him, though. Slow pressure MG42 there, being pinned down and murdered. Trying to use the Halftrack to reinforce, but the disc just keeps it up there. The MG42 covering the first one there, go just forced retreat here. Clearly not working out for Fredbrik as Torano and the 20th Guards Motorized Rifle Division launches another all-out assault. Units being suppressed by the MG42, Grenadiers being about here. More Grenadiers around there, they got Panzer Grenadiers in the east going there for some cut-off points as well. Grenadiers pinned to the ground here. And also, he's quickly repositioning, possibly in response to the flank. We're just expecting a flank. He's going to eat the Panzer Grenadiers or something else alongside the Halftrack. If we can see, still no anti-tank grenades though for Torano. He's clearly not taking the Halftrack very seriously. He's got other plans. Either way, no anti-tank grenades. It's certainly last Fredbrik here dropping his Halftrack a lot more freely. And we got a doctrine for Fredbrik. It is Storm. Is he actually planning on using the mines? That would be interesting. I mean, ambush tactics could also be quite useful there for him. Panzer there flanking, good work, and there you go, complete collapse here of Torano's centre assault. The western push is also, it's actually making better progress here for Torano. Again, having sort of drawn all the attention towards the centre, then pushes up the west. Back here, troop ceiling reinforced, yeah, there's ceiling. And another heavy machine gun there for Torano and the 20th Guards Motorized Rifle Division as the 3rd Panzer Division gets about with its work there. Halftrack closing in on veterans 1 already, 2 kills for the fatherland. MG42 the reinforcing with a Pack 40 for Fredbrik as well.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
Need to pull back here for some safety. Needs to be kept around those machine guns as they can suppress very quickly. I mean, if he's intent on holding this, I'd strongly suggest him to get a bunker. I mean, Halftrack or machine gun can't suppress that. And again, just feeds up machine guns and infantry for being elsewhere rather than you have to hold them again, just being crept up by these heavy machine guns and wiped out. So I think that would be a lot better there for Fredbrik just investing in a heavy machine gun. We got Tech up there for Torano, Tank Battalion Command up there. Fredbrik not taking up yet, he could definitely benefit from it. In fact, it seems like his resource is a bit on hold here at the moment. Grenadiers, they're taking heavy damage and are pushed away. And after them moving up, there we go. Using it to transport infantry about there again for a more localized counterattack group. That way gaining local superiority. If utilised judiciously, of course. I mean, if you rush into something bad, you're just going to get your men killed. But used correctly, you can allow you to get superiority wherever you need fast and then move on to the next hotspot. Or you try and push for an advantage using that afterwards. So, nice work here by Fredbrik. Nice work. Though he might want to keep the Halftrack a bit closer, partly so he can, of course, benefit from the experience gained by the Grenadiers as well. Molotov off here. Country there taking damage, losses. Halftrack there closing Veterans 1. There you go. Veterans 1 game for the Halftrack. Might want to use some first aid there on the Grenadiers. There we go. Sharp move there. Continue to defend the centre with M42. This time, though, in ambush, which, of course, makes it harder for him trying to creep up on it. That could certainly also help counteract it, though. I mean, obviously, he might be worried the bunker's just going to hit by a field gun, but I don't know. I think long term it's just better because, again, it frees up the machine guns for fighting elsewhere across the map. And they're left behind. Pack 40 near about support in case, Torano has out some vehicle rammers against him. Not a bad idea there by Fredbrik. So far, there's no sound of anything there from the Tank Battalion Command there. It is silent. But he's quickly striking back here. And before setting up, then ambush position. Concentrate out in the open, there we go. Quickly taking some damage. 10 kills to that machine gun. Doing pretty well there for Fredbrik. And there we go. Double machine guns plus a Halftrack moving up there. Can of course also try and case using infantry awareness to see if he can't spot out any of Torano's flanks with that. I mean, that could be helpful in Fredbrik as well, setting up for defences. Certainly some light machine guns could also be an idea. There we go. Got one on the way. Panzer's back here. I'd recommend him popping them into the Halftrack. That way he can sort of form up a very aggressive assault group. And we can see Torano here. Why he didn't do anything with that Tank Battalion Command. He's planning on moving straight on for the medium tank. So he's really going to try and push it maybe for some kind of edge versus Fredbrik. Very interesting move there. Very interesting move. Need to get the Halftrack out of there though. It's just taking needless damage, which is not really what you should try and seek with a Halftrack. Still no anti-tank grenades there from Torano. I am slightly surprised at that he's taking the Halftrack that lightly. I mean, it's certainly, I think, a critical part here. Fredbrik's, you know, good performance on the front line. So I do think Torano should try and take a bit more size. Oh, this month's actually good work by Fredbrik. Gute Arbeit. And this being suppressed here. Back here, we actually got a support crop for Fredbrik, so both players can reasonably well get out some medium armor. Of course, Torano's going to be able to get out of T-3476 faster simply because it costs less. And of course, he's been able to harass Fredbrik reasonably well, so Fredbrik's fuel income has been sort of, you know, slowed down. But we can see he's been able to sort of just catch him up here a bit, plus the defenses and all that with the Halftrack has made it easy for him to actually just hold map controls. I mean, really, he just needs to put that Halftrack out of its misery because it's really too big a threat there to Torano long term. Again, Fredbrik here making good use of the Halftrack with just some mobile fighting here again, popping out the Panzer supported by the Halftrack, doing a lot of damage here close to the Halftrack, the Panzer there, a lot of damage, and of course can then quickly shift on to the next priority target. Again, the machine gun focus on harassing up there. So again, really just Halftracks are a really good choice, and good uses of them can prove quite, you know, vital here. So there you go, again, we can see here, thanks to that, he knows there's a Halftrack coming, he has to immediately retreat the machine gun, he can't hang about here. So again, very good move there by Fredbrik here. Torano, of course, reacting, I think, very wisely in perhaps, you know, starting to take it a bit more seriously. T-3476 on the way for Fredbrik. Of course, Torano could benefit from a Halftrack of his own. Would allow him to much more easily also maintain aggressive posture and, of course, do the same thing more offensively versus Fredbrik, just switching things around there quickly, making it harder for Fredbrik to react. But there you go, Fredbrik going for a Panzer IV of his own. Here in the West, Engineers versus the Grenadiers forming up a reasonable boundary with ambush camouflage on the way as well. There's actually been reasonable use of it. Nice to see that. And straight into the machine gun. He knew it was there though. I mean, he knew it was sort of following after the Halftrack, so that was a bit of a weird decision there by Fredbrik to move out there. So, you know, clearly he would not follow after it further. Now, don't worry, the Russians, they can't move very far, you know. They're very hardy peasant folk. Ah, scheiße. I'm talking scheiße. I'm talking literal scheiße. Don't do it. Ah, scheiße. They got suppressed. Scheiße. Moving out his infantry again, going straight up there, engaging up close. Pioneers Halftrack rushing, Grenadiers supporting as well. Then before two point blank, just tearing into the heavy machine gun. Ball to play there. Lost the Grenadiers, scored elsewhere. There we go. T-34 striking through the centre. There we go. Catching off Fredbrik. In a bad position, very nice work. He's in his winning here. He might be losing the centre there due to Torano's armoured assault. But of course, we've got a Panzer here ready to reinforce and, you know, prop up the centre here at least for him to sort of bring up forces there. He's shifting the Halftrack about now. Vetsi too, by the way, but he's keeping forces here for the time being. Perhaps worried about a counterattack. We'll have to see. Halftrack. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing with the Halftrack there. He should also consider the pin of that machine gun only Panzer IV. Back here, healing reinforcement going on, and still anti-tank grenades. Also noting, Torano is floating a lot of munitions, but it does seem like we're clearly a clear idea why he's been setting up for it. He's been setting up for the Allied supply drops, so can that way just begin pumping out a lot of tanks, despite, again, you know, not controlling the centre fuel points, and occasionally, while still holding decent control of the rest of the map there, it's sort of increasingly been struggling with it. So, in terms of counterweight sort of strategies, that's a pretty good one that sort of helps offset some of Fredbrik's centre dominance, sort of slowly sort of mid-game strengthening there, of course, makes good use of the Halftrack. So that is pretty good there by Torano, pretty good there. Definitely some thought, I think, went into this doctoral choice. But also just good maneuvering there by Torano, good maneuvering, a good sort of understanding and of the strengths and weaknesses of the conscripts. Second T-34 there arriving for Torano. 20th Guards motorized rifle division, they're being supported by an independent tank brigade with T-3476s. Got the Panzer IV there rolling about, no machine gun there, slowly advancing his forces through the centre. Overall MB4 setting up here again. Really, at some point, should consider some bunkers, I think. At least if not so directly at the front line, so just consider them like a sort of a secondary line. That way, slowing down his opponent once they reach the first one, giving more time to counter-attack. I mean, generally, when it came to defence on the Eastern Front, the Germans sort of preferred, you know, more in-depth defences. That was generally also their sensible sort of defensive strategy in general. But, you know, there generally sort of be layers with trenches and all that, you know, so that you couldn't just, you know, take out one and out the end. For example, something General Gotthard Heinrici made rather good use of, for example, several times on the Eastern Front, but also, for example, at the Battle of the Seal of Heights. Need to be careful with those Panther 4 though. Fredbrik, Foresight in east though. T-54 breaking through again. Torano seems to sort of instinctively sort of understand some of their strengths of the Soviets, which again is they can sort of attack a lot of places at the same time, whereas the Germans need to be more focused to concentrate at times with cancel the games major. So there you go, using this numerical armor superiority just to break through elsewhere and just murder units here and there, instead of trying to engage the Panther 4 head on. He's basically sort of trying to, you know, force it to engage its tank and then get sort of a better way. But of course there's a slight issue right now, which is he's far behind enemy lines with his tank. Panther 14 was forced in the centre, the other T-54 being repaired by conscripts, good news there. Damage engine on the Panzerkampfwagen, Halftrack hanging about here as well. Stug on the way here for Fredbrik and the 3rd Panzer Division, and there go T-54 versus Grenadiers. Panzerfaust ultimately does not really do too much there versus the T-34. Instead, Engineers versus Grenadiers. Casualties inflicted. Hitting the western points here. Conscripts coming about there as well. T-34's linking up. We got a 3rd heavy machine gun there for Torano. Plus another fuel drop. Gunners, they're taking a catastrophic hit. Poor Franz and Fritz are rather obliterated there for a lot by Jürgen. It looks like there'll be another wipe. There's some machine gun she's changed them. And there we go. Wipe, light machine gun drop. Got the stupid move. Damage in there. Go. That'll be one T-34 down here. Torano pushes back a bit too far. Of course, he wasn't aware this was Stug, but certainly anticipating one is, well, not a lot of players always go for them, so I suppose it's not too bad. But there you go. 2nd Grenadier squad wiped here. So you've got 2 Grenadiers for 1 T-34. Not ideal, but certainly not bad either. Certainly not bad either, particularly because again, it's a lot harder for Fredbrik just to begin replacing his losses at this stage of the fight. I mean, those are huge infantry losses. You only strengthen Torano's infantry simply through the sheer absence then of, you know, infantry on equal numbers. I mean, he's got 2 infantry squads now versus Torano's 4, so really that was just pretty good there for Torano. That just sort of shifted the game in his favour to an extent there. So despite Fredbrik actually having a lot of resources in some way, again, he's got more bigger tanks, better tanks in some ways. He's not got a lot of infantry to work with. The tanks will hold the ground here, so Torano can now keep up a more aggressive campaign of harassment versus Fredbrik. So that's really something that Fredbrik needs to turn about there, and it certainly also means he has to make better use of his half-track. He's actually laying down regal mines. He's worried about armoured flanks as well now. We can sort of see again Torano's tactics so far are beginning to really actually sort of affect Fredbrik's thinking. He's really worried about a deep armoured flank. So this is actually getting pretty fun. But he needs to replace the infantry loss. At this point, I'd certainly suggest Panzer Grenadiers. They're the gun we want most easily just challenge veteran conscripts at this stage of the game. Got a support room company here. Torano bring up some elements. Likely going to be field guns. Could also be mortars. Oh dear, lost a squad there though. S-mines there again. Fredbrik though, having made good use of S-mines, certainly they also make it hard to just manage a lot of those infantry squads like that too freely. So in that regard, S-mines are also a good counter choice there by Fredbrik versus Torano's plays. I mean, in that regard, you know, this is a pretty good fight on several levels. Pretty good fight. Another fuel drop there for Torano. We got Telemans almost done. So we can see again he's sort of trying several things that way, you know, try and minimize Torano's sort of greater mobility here versus Fredbrik's forces.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands.
There you go, Halftrack by the way, halfway to Veterancy 3. Good work there by Fredbrik. Good work. So many people just don't make, you know, good use of Halftrack, but I really say, without that, I don't think Fredbrik would have been doing quite so well here versus Torano's, you know, current tactics and strategies. I mean, really, good choice there. Good choice. Thumbs up from the propaganda ministry. Grenadiers versus conscripts. Got a multiple offer that they need to fall back. The problem is right now for Fredbrik, he needs to sort of be a bit more concentrated. He needs to sort of launch some more directed blows, and I think he needs to consider some machine gun bunkers at more vital points, sort of farther points away there to avoid, you know, having to constantly rush away forces. Also needs to get that Panther 4 fixed up. Schnell. He should also consider another Panther 4, I think, right about now, or Stug. Theoretically, he could try and take up for a Panther. I mean, resource-wise, he could go there. It would be risky, but it wouldn't be, you know, complete codswallop. But it wouldn't be something like, you know, just say, way, great idea there, Fred. You'd just be sort of, alright, I can see it maybe working, but Again, it's going to be risky there. And now Torano's got the anti-tank grenades up. They're suddenly also punishing Fredbrik more through that. He needs to get some infantry up. Then again, this is where again more Panzer Grenadiers would help him out. But he went for another Grenadier squad. So I feel that's a bit of a strategic error there by Fredbrik. Not a huge one, just sort of not what I call fully recommendable. There you go. Actually got double field guns out here for Torano. Quickly bring up a lot of anti-tank that supports tanks, which certainly indicates he's planning here for the M4C Sherman at this stage. Otherwise, I don't think he'd just go heavily on the field guns. He's just planning on calling in another T-34s and 6 just like that. Certainly indicates to an extent he wants, you know, those and willing to just try and buy time for it. Otherwise, he'd probably just gone for one field gun just to support the T-34s like that. Double, he wants to buy time. He wants to ensure he doesn't get completely, you know, pushed off the field by Fredbrik and his Panzers. Though again, Fredbrik now has the resources. He's not actually going for more. When he's got the field, he just needs up manpower. He just keeps calling in more Grenadiers when he really should be going for more Panzer Grenadiers at this stage. Ah! Oh no! He failed to get the Panzers out in time. He couldn't have got the half-track behind here. He was trying to do too much and got punished for it. Otherwise, that was a nice idea. You know, rushing behind the support web with Panzer Grenadiers popping out their half-track doing damage. That could have been great for Fredbrik. He just forgot about it. What rotten luck. Again, tactically sound, it was just execution that completely fell through there. Even then, with the machine gun, that's a bit risky, but still, he probably could have pulled it off with a good bundle of grenades, so, you know. I like the idea, and honestly, I would have probably attempted something like that myself. I might even have failed. I mean, sort of 50-50 there, but the key important, though, is he clearly wasn't paying attention. It was too late there, so that ultimately just undercuts most of it. Still, I like the idea. Again, he was actually using his half-track actively. Again, some players will use it initially actively and then forget all about it, using it pretty much, you know, there's like, you know, something to collect dust with. I mean, Fredbrik actually used it throughout the fight there, so that was really great there. That, again, deserves, you know, some praise. There you go. Sherman out here for Torano, the M4C. 50 caliber there being mounted. Although the Soviets were never huge fans of mounting pin-butt machine guns on their tanks. It was only something that caught on in the Cold War. They had some of their heavier tanks, but that was about it. So that's a little fun fact there. Got the Sherman there rolling ahead. Aggressively pack 40, pointing in the wrong direction. Very wrong direction there, Fredbrik. Stuke moving down there close to T2, Panzer moving back. He's finally adding a pin-butt machine gun to that one, by the way. But his Stuke could also benefit from it. Mine spotted, dealt with there. Good work. Again, more flank threats there for Torano. Panzer 5 is a T-34. There we go, the T-34 threat T2. Increasing its rate of fire, which actually makes a bit more threat to the Panzer 4. We can see that Fredbrik realizes he's actually in a bad spot and just blitzes away that he does not wish to risk Panzer 4. But again, there's one curious issue here. Again, he's just flooding a lot of resources. So it can't help but feel like Fredbrik is being slightly overwhelmed in the later game. Again, he's lost control of the half-track there, wasn't paying attention, and now he's floating a considerable amount of resources. We can sort of see that Torano's continued tactics and overall strategy is actually having quite an effect on Fredbrik mentally. Again, it's making it difficult there for Fredbrik to keep up. It is making it very difficult to keep up with all this Torano is doing. There he goes, finally going for another Panzer IV here, but again could add more armor sooner. And thus he's now sort of slowly beginning to fall behind Torano. He's now, I think, sort of really realizing he's on the cusp of a really big breakthrough. It's just pouring in there again. Fredbrik's just struggling to contain all of this. And we can see he's just going in there across the map. They're not caring about, I think, most casualties. There you go, Panzer IV main gun out. T-34 there bounces, but again, it's only a matter of time here. Pack 4, secured, machine gun down. He's actually lost 2 heavy machine guns. There you go, Panzer IV down, abandoned. Second, I've got the M4C Sherman support there. Panzer going to be almost being wiped out. They likely will. There's 2 tanks about them, low on health. Veteran tank, machine gun mounted tank. And there you go. Panzer going to be wiped. Quite a bit of loss of Fredbrik. Grenadiers are close being wiped as well. Need to be careful out in the open versus 2 tanks. There you go. Second Panzer IV out here for Fredbrik. But the odds looking increasingly bleak. I mean, he's just down to the Panzer IV. There's a Russian player with an increasing large amount of armor. Veteran armor for that matter, which again is a really big problem, particularly once this one hits Veteran 3, for example, it's going to have a high rate of fire. This is quite a problem. Now, of course, the funny thing is, I mean, the Russians were not known for their tank having a high rate of fire. They're actually, in fact, pretty slow. I mean, if you were to ask a German tanker, I think the rule of thumb was they could get out for at least 2 to 3 shots for every shot the Russians fired. And part again to sort of poor training, but in some cases, you know, depending on the tank, it's just due to some other issues there. For example, the IS-2 was so slow because it required the shots were actually in 2 parts due to the size of them, so it really gave the IS-2 a slow rate of fire. As an example.
Enemy forces capturing supply sector.
He's going to need a Stug here to have a chance, but he also needs to flank out. To an extent, that's also what Fredbrik never really did at this fight, which again was Torano, I think overall was really good, and it can also see in the long term there's quite a difference there.
Is encroaching on our territory.
Hitting the victory point here, except looks like he misclicked on the tactical map. Second Infantry shown out there for Torano. The 20th Guards Motorized Rifle Division here. Stug on the way for Fredbrik, second Stug. Too bad the first Stug isn't around there to support it and work with it. Quickly sending in his tanks to the Panzer IV, field gun coming up as well. He's fixing up his veteran T-34, very good priority there, I think, there by Torano. And there you go, going straight ahead. He doesn't apparently care about the infantry Sherman, but there you go, lands a good hit there. Field gun gets a hit in the Panzer IV. Almost got the Panzer IV there. Panzer IV misses. Troops bring about here in the centre, being suppressed, and these pioneers bring up as well here. Stug almost ready for Fredbrik. Not quite. Grenadiers under fire from the T-34-6 as it steadily advances. There we go, almost wiping out an entire Grenadier squad in a matter of seconds. Second Grenadier squad, they're also being easy prey for the T-34-6. Look at it, Dimitri, they run like cowards! Well, would you stand in front of a tank that fired at you? Well, no. But that doesn't make me a coward, that just makes me clever. Whatever you say. Shoot there. Ooh. Did not get shot at. Rushing straight ahead here. I think he's fidgeting a bit too much here with his field gun, to be honest. He's almost losing his, hero of the Soviet Union T-34 there. They're going straight ahead. There's Hector Spate, then following up with the T-34. Pretty aggressive. Got the Panzer IV down to just the Stug. There you go, field gun shooting at Stug almost down here. Pushing in with the Sherman. They're going to try and finish it off here. Panzer IV on the Sherman. Moving up, the other Sherman are now fixed up. First one about to go down here to the Sturmgeschütz, veterans who won. Another Stug on the way there for Fredbrik. Main gun out, Sherman going in there, got the Sherman, but the second one is moving up there against the Stug, and it's going to get it, And there we go, Stug goes down, and with that I think Fredbrik stands few chances. I mean, his opponent's still got 2 tanks and a lot of infantry, plus a lot of support weapons. Fredbrik has increasingly very little left, and there you go, Fredbrik surrenders, a loss for the fatherland. Forced retreat here, the 3rd Panzer Grenadier Division has been bloodied in for the fight against the Soviet Union. So overall, I mean, nicely played here by Torano. Also well played by Fredbrik. It's just Torano, I think, had a much more cohesive strategy. Tactically, also sort of outdid Fredbrik. So once again, the good flanking there. Also, not getting too focused on the centre. I think that was one of Fredbrik's bigger mistakes. So again, he tried to offset it to an extent with the Halftrack. He pulled off to an extent, but I think he should have had some machine gun bunkers here and there. Or at least should have had more Panzer Grenadiers to work with the Halftrack. In that regard, he kept replenishing. He lost troops with Grenadiers, but he probably should have got at least one more Panzer Grenadier squad. Also, tactical movement, I think, could have benefited Fredbrik at times. But also just a feeling he was increasingly getting overwhelmed, which caused him some slight, mess-ups. Like the Halftrack there being lost, big loss. But also just that point there, we could easily gone for more armour to support what he had, but just didn't do anything with it. I think that also cost Fredbrik quite a bit there. But overall, well played by Fredbrik, but also well played by Torano there. Good use of the conscripts, good use of his stocks. I mean, he made use of almost anything except the Halftrack, and he could have benefited from Halftrack. Good use of his armour. Again, he sort of understood the power of it, the power of having numbers as the Soviets, and so just using not just blindly for a threat, but it just to sort of hit him everywhere else where Fredbrik was weak, and that way just slowly crumble away at Fredbrik's overall strength. So that was some really, I think, imaginative and clever play there by Torano. and certainly deserves praise, and I think also something some players could learn from. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this match. I hope you learned something from it. If you did, want to subscribe, tell friends, share it with everyone. If not, send in a replay of your Enterprise and feedback in the comment section. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you tomorrow for another exciting episode. Bye.